Welcome, everybody, to this week's Shed Adventure. And, well, what are we going to talk about today? And the answer is all this, and you can only see part of it, massive collection of stuff that we need to go canoeing. This is all the gear that you need to get that sea kayak safely out on the water. So we're going to quickly run through it, and then later on, when we go actually out in the water, I'll show you how it all gets lost in the boat. So, to be honest, I don't know where to start. So let's start with this monster. So this is probably the most, amongst my canoeing friends, the most controversial thing I've got. To me, it's the most beautiful thing I've got. And they keep telling me, John, what are you doing with this? Well, what is this? Well, this is a beauty, but it's a beauty from the 1972 World Championships. This is a slalom paddle, wooden, 1972. Great big aluminium ends on it, so when you're bashing it against the rocks, you don't split the paddle. And this is even signed by the world champion at the time. So why is this controversial? Well, I'm not as fit as I used to be, and I'm not as strong as I used to be, and this is a monster. And it's not designed for sea kayaking, it's a slalom paddle. So these these blades in sea kayaking parlance are massive. And when you're paddling, one of the problems with these is they get hit by the wind, they get hit by the waves, and yeah, it's really not necessarily the best tool for the job. However, like everything in Shed Adventures, we love our lovely old stuff. We love our wood. We love just how beautifully made this is and how tactile it is. And if I've got to carry something in my hand for 8 hours a day, this really is the tool, and it's absolutely beautiful. So, huge wooden paddle, should be carbon fibre. So while we're talking paddle, let's talk about this. So this is what they call a split paddle. This is really what I should be using. And this isn't that light, to be honest. Why do we carry this? Well, this is quite simply your spare paddle, just in case you break that one. And there we go. And you can see the difference in the blade design. This is modern design, size and weight, yeah, nothing to it. But what's this on the end? Well, this great thing, which obviously comes off, is called a paddle float. And why do I have that on my spare paddle? Well, you'll see this on the back of the canoe. We'll break this back down, and it'll end up being stored on the back deck of the canoe. And why? Well, I might fall out with a few canoeists over this, but most canoeists, after a pint in the pub, and you ask them, can you roll your canoe, will say, yes, I can roll a canoe. There's a bit of a macho thing amongst canoeists, can you roll a canoe? Now, I can tell you, and I can look you straight in the eye, I can roll a canoe. But we need to be honest in Shed Adventures, and life has moved on, and my fitness has moved on, and the amount of time I spend training. So when I say I can roll a canoe, if you take me down on a Thursday night with the canoe club to the local swimming pool, we put the backs in, put the canoes in the water, and I've got my nose clip on, I've got maybe a pair of swimming goggles on, the water's relatively warm, I'm warmed up, and I'm practicing, and I know my positioning. Lots of nice breaths. 1, 2, 3. Over we go. Whoosh. Up we come. 8 out of 10 times I'll pop up. Now, that's not rolling a canoe. Lots of people will tell you they can roll a canoe. I'll tell you the gentleman who can roll a canoe. He pulls alongside you at lunchtime. He's there. You give him a sandwich. He holds that in one hand. You ask to have a look at his lovely new sunglasses. He passes them to you. You pass them back to him, so he's now got a sandwich in one hand, his sunglasses in the other, and his paddle is lying on his deck. And you look at him and you shove him in the water. Now, he's going to punch you hard on the nose when he comes back up. But that gentleman, you know, can roll a canoe. He'll turn over with a mouthful of sandwich. He'll drop the sandwich. He won't drop his glasses. He'll tuck those inside his buoyancy aid. He'll find his paddle somewhere, all disorientated. He'll get in the position, confident, cool and calm, whoosh, and up he comes. And then he'll bat you on the head with his paddle for doing that to him. That guy can roll a canoe. No notice, completely relaxed, suddenly he's upside down in a boat. And if you can pop up 10 times out of 10 times, in that sort of situation, you're a proper canoeist. So I have to assume that if I roll a canoe, or if I turn over in my canoe, I'll have a go, I'll have a couple of tries, but I might not come out. So my plan is always to assume, one, I'm on my own and I haven't got any friends and support, and two, I'm coming out of the canoe if I go over. So I'm going to be swimming for 10, 15 minutes while I sort myself out. So I have to dress appropriately, and we'll come on to that in a minute. And I have to have the necessary tools. So I'm unlikely to break a paddle. So this is all set up, ready to go. And this is the paddle float. And what we do is we put this together, and then I'll show you when we get the canoe out. We shove this underneath the deck lines, and that pokes out the side of the canoe, and it gives me support. It allows me to climb onto a very tippy canoe and get back in. And the canoe, as we've already spoken, has a bit of a bilge pump, a foot pump on it, and pump the water out and go on my way. Sounds very easy, it needs practicing regularly, but I assume I'm coming out. So I have, sometimes you can get blow up ones, but I want rock solid, can't break it, can't damage it, paddle float and a spare set of paddles. So what else have we got here? First aid kit. This is far too big. This is not a day trip first aid kit. This is a multi-trip expedition first aid kit, but we'll carry that. We'll talk about weight in a minute. Weight doesn't matter to me. Loads of repair stuff. Again, not really for a day trip. It's for a multi-day trip, but again, weight's not an issue, so we carry that. Waterproof jar. Why? Car keys, wallet, iPhone, everything that you can't afford to get lost or damp or wet. That goes in there. Endless, we'll talk about how we strap a canoe and get a canoe off and on the car. Endless padding and bits of foam for protecting canoes and protecting cars. Endless straps and pulleys for nailing down the canoe on the car. Can never have too many carabiners and a big length of rope. Waterproof bag for your phone. Lump of beeswax. Why have I got a lump of beeswax? When we come on to my dry suit in a minute, this is the only stuff you should really lubricate your zip with. Waterproof zips are really heavy duty and hard work, so you need to have some beeswax because that doesn't damage the seals. Lots and lots of waterproof bags. What I normally do is fill this one with a complete change of clothes, seal it all up as you do, and then just store that, stuff it up the bow of the canoe, and that will stay there pretty much all season. And various other ones. That's one's for my little sleeping bag, and that's one's for stoves and all the bits and bobs that you don't want to get wet. Even though you've got waterproof compartments, you're living on a beach, and these are really, really great and just amazing, all the modern kit. Yeah, a life jacket and a buoyancy aid. So this is what you canoe with. So what's the difference when I go sailing between a life jacket and a buoyancy aid? Well, just so you know, this is self-inflating. So there's an air bottle just in there, and there's a little tablet that when it gets exposed to seawater, it melts, disintegrates, and lets the hammer hit the air bottle and push. You've suddenly got wrapped around you 150 newtons of buoyancy up here, round the back of your head. What's the difference between a life vest, life jacket, and a buoyancy aid? It's all in the word life jacket. This will take an unconscious man falling into the water, and it will keep his head above water. No effort, no paddling. You just fall in. It'll go off automatically if you fall off a boat, and it'll inflate right around you in a big horseshoe. And even if you're unconscious, it will keep your head out the water, and you shouldn't drown. Not really suitable for canoeing where there's water coming all over you, because it will just go off every few minutes. So you wear a buoyancy aid, and what will that do? It will aid your buoyancy. But if you go in the water unconscious, and the one bit of safety kit I haven't got is my helmet. How bad is that? I'll go and find that in a minute. You don't want to be unconscious as a canoer, because you won't get out of your canoe if you end up hitting your head upside down. And this, if you're out of your canoe, will aid your buoyancy. It will give you positive buoyancy. What it won't do, if your head rolls forward because you're unconscious, it won't keep it out of the water. It will fall in. So this is what we wear. Lots of pockets and lots of useful bits. So a nice silo in the back, always useful in an emergency. I don't know what I've got tucked in here, probably a space blanket or two. Yeah, a space blanket or two. You wonder what I use those for. That's quite a big one. I normally carry some really cheap little ones. I end up, most trips, it's surprisingly how many trips you end up giving them to paddle boarders. You get a family paddle boarding, one of the young kids falls in, he's only wearing a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, and he's got a 40-minute paddle home, and he doesn't realise how cold the water is, and he's freezing, and you just come past and go, yeah, wrap a space blanket around you, and people are very grateful. In the front, most important thing, tie everything when you go canoeing is tied on. Really super sharp emergency knife, the good old compass, and that's not tied on, so this is why we go through our kit. Get that hooked on there. That all lives in there and is zipped up, and in here we have a strobe. Don't carry flares, but we carry a strobe. I need to check that is working in a minute, so we'll leave that out. And what I should have, and I don't seem to, is a whistle. So I need to find out. This is why we go through our kit. We haven't used this with COVID, probably 4 years. I need to check where my whistle is. I've got a pocket in there. Nose clips. So if I want to practice rolling, put those on, and you can practice without getting water up your nose. And I think that is a hand-bearing compass. Yeah. So lots of compasses. I do like not being short of a compass or two. So there we are. That's our buoyancy aid. Now this is interesting. What am I doing with a 3-4 gallon water canister? Well, this comes back to that boat you saw, my Nordkapp that you saw in the previous episode. It's an expedition kayak, sea kayak. Its one design parameter was carry a man for multiple days expeditions with 90 kilograms of kit. When we go out on a day trip, and she's tippy, as I said, 17 foot long, 22 inches wide at the widest point. She is like balancing on a pinhead. When we go out for a day trip, we haven't got enough weight in her to really do what she's designed to do, which is to sit low in the water, full of food and fuel, tents and expedition kit. So I don't mind carrying all this stuff. And what I do is I fill this up with water, and this goes in the canoe behind my seat, just to give me some more ballast, just to get that canoe sat a little bit lower, not even close to full expedition, but just sat a bit lower and just a little bit more stable for me. So that's that. That's a set of emergency hatch covers in there. Knee pads. These really are to protect my expensive dry suit. Why? Because the whole skill, when you see people have trouble keeping a canoe straight, it's because they're literally not with the machine. You need to be in that boat. When you put a foot up and down, put a leg up and down, when you edge the boat, we'll talk about that in future episodes, you need to be wedged into that boat, and every movement you have, every nuance is transmitted to that boat. So you're jammed in and you want to keep your knees or your lovely dry suit from wearing out. If you're doing practicing, you don't wear this, you just canoe normally with my sun hat on. But if I'm doing any practicing, I'll put that on as well. So a neoprene hat, spray deck, tiny spray deck, because as I've said already in a previous video, I have this tiny ocean cockpit. Modern canoes have huge spray decks, but they have this keyhole cockpit. It just makes life so much easier when you're getting in and when you're getting out and landing that canoe. That's what I really need, to be honest. And that's probably the only reason I'd ever get rid of that canoe. And to be honest, I wouldn't get rid of that canoe because on Shed Adventures we love our old stuff. So this is a spray deck. Ooh. Might not need these because we're not in the winter, but these fit along the bar of my paddle, and you can put your hands in these. You can see the paddle comes out here, and in the dark winters, when it's absolutely freezing, everyone else has got freezing hands, even if they've got neoprene gloves on, and you haven't. You've got these beauties on. They are literally on a wintry day, and people and we do go canoeing in the winter, they're a lifesaver. So we have those. Oh, we have this. This is really for emergencies, and this is if you're a team leader, and you'll see some cleats and bits and bobs on the back of my life jacket. So this is a towing line. So you wear this around your waist, and you set it up before you go. But if you're leading a team and you maybe have a novice or you have a weaker paddler with you who may get tired, they may capsize, hit their head, dislocate a shoulder. Even an experienced canoeist doing a roll may dislocate a shoulder and he's struggling to get home, you can attach a tow line to him. It's seriously hard work, but theoretically, if it's not too far away, you can clip him onto the tow line, tow him home. Pair of shoes which you don't mind getting wet, and then for me, we have this, and this is going to get a wash and a bit of love and care and attention. So I wear a dry suit. I assume that I'm going for a swim, and the water, even this time of year, is still going to, even height of summer, it's still bitterly cold when you just plop into the water. So underneath here, I'll be wearing a full set of clothes. And it's very nice. If I'm tootling up a river and I come to the pub, I can unzip this, rather like James Bond. I'm not saying I've got I've got evening dress underneath, but you can have a pair of jeans and a decent t-shirt, and you can go to the pub and not look a fool and come back. The issue with this is getting in and out of it. So this, here's the neck seal. So this zip is above your neck, and really, even with the extra line on there, it's hard work to get in and out of it. So you normally need to walk along the beach and embarrassingly find someone and say, couldn't just pull my zip shut for me. But once you're in here, seals round the wrist, seals round the neck, little booties there. Obviously those will get a hole in really easily, so you need to wear some shoes you can sacrifice. And that's it. Big blue barrel there for everything to go into, so you can just throw it all out on the beach. And that's it. Seems a lot. When it all goes right, you don't need it. When it all goes wrong, every item there is a godsend. So, need to go and find my helmet. Need to go through this with a fine tooth comb and make sure it's all up to scratch. Then I need to try and get the canoe on the roof of the car, which is a whole nother episode of, there was a day when I could lift that canoe. It's £55 advertised. I think it's more like about £60. There was a time I could pick up £60 and put it above my head. I can't do that now. So we have to use some brain and not so much brawn these days. We'll go and work out a method of getting that off and on the car without necessarily having to ask help. So that's it. This is all the stuff we need. We're nearly there. Next episode, we're down probably on a very nice river, estuary river leading to the sea, and we'll actually go and take that beautiful boat out canoeing. So I hope you enjoyed this very quick episode and the run through of all the equipment you need, and you'll see it all in action very, very soon on Shed Adventures. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really does help, and I'll see you very shortly. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye everybody.